The glow of Isabella Chen's phone screen illuminated her tear-stained face as she sat cross-legged on her apartment floor at 2:47 a.m. Empty wine bottle, scattered tissues. The wreckage of what had been the worst day of her 28 years. Her fingers trembled as she typed furiously, pouring 3 years of frustration into a message meant for her best friend Sarah. I'm so done with everything. My boss humiliated me in front of the entire board today, said my presentation was amateur hour. 3 years of killing myself for that company, and this is what I get. I work late every night, skip meals, cancel plans, and for what? To be treated like I'm disposable? I'm tired, Sarah. So tired of pretending I'm fine when I'm falling apart. Sometimes I just want to disappear, you know. Start over somewhere nobody knows my name. She hit send before the tears could blur her vision completely, then dropped the phone onto the carpet and buried her face in her hands. The weight of everything, the humiliation, the loneliness, the crushing pressure of trying to prove herself in a city that seemed determined to break her, pressed down on her chest until she could barely breathe. The phone buzzed. Isabella wiped her eyes and reached for it, expecting Sarah's usual flood of heart emojis and supportive voice notes. Instead, she found a message from an unknown number. You have the wrong number, but I read it anyway. Your boss sounds like an idiot. Anyone who can write with that much raw honesty at 3 a.m. after what sounds like a terrible day isn't amateur at anything. They're just intimidated by you. Isabella's breath caught. Her finger hovered over the delete button, but something made her pause. She scrolled up to check the number she'd sent to, and her stomach dropped. In her emotional haze, she'd mistyped Sarah's contact. One wrong digit. One stranger now knew her deepest vulnerability. Oh God, I'm so sorry. She typed quickly. Please delete that. I didn't mean to. Already forgot it, came the immediate reply. Except the part about your boss being an idiot. That part seemed important. Are you okay? Isabella stared at the screen. She should stop. Block the number. Pretend this mortifying mistake never happened. But something about the directness of the question, the lack of judgment in those simple words, made her fingers move before her brain could stop them. Honestly? No. But I will be. I always am. That's the loneliest sentence I've read in a long time. The observation hit her like a physical blow. This stranger, this random person who shouldn't matter, had seen through her in one message what her colleagues, her family, even Sarah sometimes missed. The armor she wore so carefully, the smile she maintained so perfectly, none of it meant anything at 3 a.m. when the truth came spilling out. Who are you? She typed. Someone who knows what it's like to pretend. What's your name? Your real name, not the one you use at work. Isabella. Izzy to people who actually know me. Dante. And now I actually know you, Izzy. More than most people probably do. She should have been terrified. A strange man, late-night texts, the vulnerability of her breakdown. Every safety lesson she'd ever learned screamed at her to stop. But there was something different here. Something in the way he wrote that felt solid, honest, like he understood the weight of carrying secrets. What do you do, Dante, besides read drunk girls' emotional breakdowns? I run a family business, import, export. Very boring, very demanding. Your turn. What do you actually do? Not your job title. What do you do? Isabella found herself smiling despite everything. I create marketing strategies for tech companies. I tell stories that make people care about products they didn't know they needed. Or at least, I used to think I was good at it. You are good at it. You made me care about your story in 3 paragraphs and I don't even know you. That's not amateur work. That's magic. The tears came again, but different this time. Softer. Born from being seen rather than broken. They talked until sunrise. About everything and nothing. He told her about growing up in Italy, about the weight of family expectations and legacy. She told him about her parents' disappointment when she chose marketing over medicine, about feeling like she was constantly running toward a finish line that kept moving further away. He never asked for her last name, never pushed for personal details. Somehow, that made it easier to be honest. "I should sleep," she finally typed as golden light crept through her blinds. "I have to face that office in 4 hours." "Go in there and be brilliant. Not for him, for you. And Izzy?" "Yeah?" "Keep this number. Text me tomorrow and tell me how it goes. I want to know." "You don't even know me." "I know enough. And I want to know more." Isabella fell asleep with her phone clutched to her chest, a small smile playing at her lips. She didn't know that the man on the other end of those messages, Dante Romano, was sitting in his Milan penthouse, staring at his own phone with an expression his associates would have found shocking. Softness, curiosity, something dangerously close to hope. Dante Romano didn't do hope. He dealt in certainties and power, in the cold calculations that had built his empire. But this accidental connection with a woman who wrote like poetry and hurt like music had slipped past every defense he'd spent 35 years constructing. He opened his secure laptop and typed in the phone number. Within minutes, his people would trace it, would tell him everything about Isabella Chen, her address, her employer, her entire digital footprint. His finger hovered over the enter key, then he closed the laptop. For the first time in his life, Dante Romano wanted to learn about someone the old-fashioned way, through conversation, through trust, through the slow, terrifying vulnerability of actually letting someone in. He just didn't know yet how dangerous that decision would be, for both of them. What would you do if you accidentally opened up to a complete stranger? Would you continue the conversation or cut all ties? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your take on this. The texts became everything. For 3 weeks, Isabella's phone lit up every night with messages that felt like lifelines. Dante never texted during work hours, as if he understood these conversations existed in their own sacred space, separate from daylight demands. "Tell me something you've never told anyone," he wrote one Thursday evening. Isabella sat curled on her couch, tea cooling in her hands. "I'm scared I'll wake up one day and realize I've spent my whole life trying to be impressive instead of happy. That's not fear. That's wisdom trying to break through. What about you? What are you scared of?" The typing indicator appeared and disappeared 3 times. "That I'll never be anything more than what my family made me. That every choice was already decided before I was born." Her chest ached. Maybe we're both scared of the same thing, being trapped in stories other people wrote for us. Then maybe we need to write new ones. The conversations grew deeper. He told her about his mother, who died when he was 17. She told him about panic attacks she hid in office bathrooms. One night, emboldened by wine and distance, she asked why he kept talking to her. "Because when I talk to you, I remember who I was before I became what everyone needed me to be. You make me feel human, Izzy. You are human." "Am I? Some days I'm not sure." Then came the message that changed everything. "I want to meet you." Isabella stared at her screen, heart racing. He could be anyone, a catfish, a danger she couldn't see coming. But he could also be exactly who he seemed, a lonely soul who'd found an unexpected mirror in hers. "I don't even know what you look like." A photo appeared. Dark hair, sharp jaw, eyes holding equal measures of intensity and exhaustion. Beautiful in that dangerous way that made smart women do stupid things. But it was the sadness in his expression that caught her, the same lonely recognition she saw in her own mirror. "Your turn," he wrote. She sent a selfie, no filter, no perfect angle. Just her, raw and real. "Even more beautiful than I imagined. Say yes, Izzy. 1 drink, public place. You can leave any time. Just give me 1 hour of reality." Every instinct screamed caution, but Isabella had spent 28 years being careful, being responsible. And where had it gotten her? Saturday, 8 p.m., the Compass Rose Bar on 5th Street, 1 hour. Saturday arrived wrapped in golden autumn light and paralyzing terror. Isabella told Sarah where she'd be, shared her location, did everything responsible while ignoring the voice that said responsible people didn't meet internet strangers. At 8:03 p.m., the door opened. She knew him instantly. Dante moved through the crowded bar with unconscious authority, dressed in dark jeans and a charcoal Henley. When his eyes found hers, the world narrowed to just that connection. Izzy. Her name in his slightly accented voice, impossibly warm. You're really here. So are you. He was more than she'd imagined. Funnier, more thoughtful, more present. But there was also something guarded in him, careful control in how he answered certain questions. Tell me about your family business, she said after the second drink. Something flickered across his face. It's complicated. That's not an answer. No, it's not. He studied her with those intense eyes. Some things are difficult to explain. Try me. 1 hour became 3. 3 became an invitation to walk city streets under golden streetlights. They stopped in front of a boutique hotel, its facade lit with soft amber light. I should go home, Isabella said, though everything in her protested. Dante turned to face her fully, his hand cupping her cheek with surprising gentleness. I'm suggesting that maybe, just for tonight, we could be who we actually are. No expectations, no promises, just honest. That's dangerous. Everything worth having is. Isabella Chen, who never took risks, looked up at this man who felt like destiny and doom tangled together, and made a choice that would change everything. One night, just to see what it feels like to be free. The hotel room was all soft light and softer sheets. They moved together like they'd done this before in some other life. His touch was reverent, almost careful, as if she were something precious. She discovered tattoos covering his torso, intricate designs that seemed to tell stories in ink, and traced them while he whispered Italian words she felt in her bones. Afterward, they lay tangled together, his heartbeat steady against her ear. I need to tell you something, he said quietly. My life, it's not simple. There are aspects of what I do that would frighten you. But this, he tightened his arms around her. This is the most real thing I've felt in years. Then tell me. Let me decide what I can handle. Long silence. Then, my family's business operates in gray areas, areas where the rules are different, where the stakes are life and death. Isabella's mind raced. Gray areas, life and death. The guarded answers, the authority he carried like a second skin. You're in the Mafia, she said flatly. His silence was confirmation. She should have run. Instead, are you good at it? A surprised laugh. That's your question? I'm serious. If you're going to be something dangerous, are you at least good at it? I'm the best. That's why I can't walk away. Do you want to? Every single day. They fell asleep wrapped in complicated truths and impossible feelings. When she woke at dawn, he was gone. No note, no message, just empty sheets where his warmth had been. She checked her phone, nothing. Sent a text, undeliverable. Called, disconnected. Dante Romano had disappeared as completely as if he'd never existed. Have you ever had a connection so intense it scared you? Someone who felt right and wrong at the same time? Tell me in the comments. I'm curious. 3 weeks passed in a fog of confusion and grief that Isabella couldn't explain to anyone. How do you mourn someone who was never really yours? How do you miss a man you spent one night with? But God, she missed him. Missed the texts that made 3 a.m. feel less lonely. Missed the way he saw through her armor to the scared girl underneath. Missed the fantasy that, maybe, just maybe, she'd found someone who understood. Sarah noticed. You've been off since that night. What happened? Did he hurt you? No, Isabella said honestly. He just left. Then he's an asshole who doesn't deserve another thought. But Isabella couldn't stop thinking about his words. This is the most real thing I've felt in years. And how they'd sounded like truth. About the sadness in his eyes that matched her own. About the way he'd held her like she mattered. Work became her escape. She threw herself into campaigns with manic energy, staying late, volunteering for impossible projects. Anything to avoid the empty apartment where her phone stayed silent. Then came the nausea. At first, she blamed stress. Then exhaustion. Then bad takeout. But when she missed her period, reality crashed down with the weight of a collapsing building. The pregnancy test sat on her bathroom counter like an accusation. 2 pink lines. Unmistakable. Impossible. Isabella sank to the cold tile floor, shaking. One night. One stupid, reckless, beautiful night with a man who'd vanished like smoke. A man whose last name she didn't even know. What have I done? Telling Sarah was the hardest conversation of her life. You're... what? Sarah's voice climbed 3 octaves. Pregnant, about 6 weeks. The mystery man? The one who ghosted you? Isabella nodded, tears streaming. I don't know how to find him. His number's disconnected. I don't even know his last name. Just Dante and that he's involved in something dangerous. Sarah pulled her into a fierce hug. Okay, we'll figure this out. First question, what do you want to do? Isabella's hand moved instinctively to her still flat stomach. I want to keep it. Then we make a plan. You, me, and baby makes 3. We've got this. But they didn't have it. Not really. The pregnancy was brutal. Morning sickness that lasted all day. Exhaustion that made climbing stairs feel like summiting Everest. And beneath it all, the aching loneliness of facing this massive life change alone. Her boss noticed her frequent bathroom trips, the way she could barely keep her eyes open during afternoon meetings. Is everything all right, Isabella? Your performance has been... inconsistent. I'm fine, she lied. Just fighting off a bug. Well, fight faster. The Mercer pitch is in 3 weeks, and I need you sharp. She wanted to scream that she was growing a human, that her body was a war zone, that sharp was an impossible ask. Instead, she nodded and pushed through, because that's what she always did. At her 12-week appointment, the ultrasound technician smiled. Want to hear the heartbeat? The sound filled the room, fast and strong like galloping horses. Isabella burst into tears. It's a beautiful sound, isn't it? The technician said gently. It's terrifying, Isabella whispered. I'm going to be someone's mother and I have no idea what I'm doing. Nobody does. That's the secret. We're all just making it up as we go. But Isabella had always had a plan. College, career, eventual marriage, then kids. Not this backwards chaos where she was bringing a child into the world with no partner, no support system beyond Sarah, and no way to contact the father who'd disappeared. The months crawled by. Her body changed in ways that fascinated and frightened her. She moved through her days in survival mode, counting down to the due date like it was both salvation and doom. At 38 weeks, her water broke during a client presentation. The rush to the hospital was a blur of contractions and panic. Sarah held her hand through every wave of pain, whispering encouragements that barely registered through the agony. You're doing amazing, the nurse said. Almost there. I can't. Isabella gasped. I can't do this. You're already doing it, honey. Your baby's almost here. 14 hours of labor that felt like dying and being reborn. And then, a cry, high and angry and absolutely perfect. It's a girl, the doctor announced, placing the tiny screaming bundle on Isabella's chest. Isabella looked down at her daughter, pink and wrinkled and impossibly small, and felt the world tilt on its axis. This was love. This was purpose. This was everything that mattered, wrapped in 7 pounds of squirming humanity. Hi, baby girl, she whispered, exhausted and exhilarated. I'm your mama. And I promise you, I'm going to figure this out. They cleaned the baby, did all the necessary checks, then brought her back swaddled in a hospital blanket. The nurse smiled as she placed her in Isabella's arms. She's perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes, healthy lungs for sure. The nurse adjusted the blanket. Oh, and look, someone already gave her a little gift. Isabella's vision was still hazy from exhaustion, but she focused on what the nurse was pointing at. Around her daughter's tiny ankle was a delicate silver anklet, clearly expensive, definitely not hospital issue. Her blood turned to ice. She lifted the baby's foot with trembling hands, squinting at the engraving on the small charm. Romano. Where did this come from? Her voice came out sharp, panicked. Who put this on my baby? The nurse looked confused. I assumed family. Someone must have visited while you were in recovery. What visitor? Who was here? I don't know. Let me check the log. But Isabella already knew. Her hands shook as she held her daughter closer, protective and terrified all at once. The anklet wasn't a gift. It was a claim, a brand, a message. He'd been here. He'd found her. And he'd marked their child as his. Dante Romano had never left at all. He'd been watching, waiting, and now he'd made his move. The darkest part? Isabella didn't know if she should be terrified or relieved. If you were Isabella, would you be angry or grateful that he showed up? Would you want answers or want him gone? Drop your honest thoughts below. No judgment. Isabella discharged herself from the hospital the next morning against medical advice. Her daughter bundled in her arms and the silver anklet burning like a brand in her pocket. She'd removed it the moment the nurse left, but couldn't bring herself to throw it away. Evidence, proof that she hadn't imagined everything. Sarah helped her into the apartment, setting up the nursery they'd prepared together. Are you going to report this? Because this is seriously creepy stalker behavior. Report what? That a man I slept with gave our daughter jewelry? Isabella settled into the rocking chair, the baby nursing peacefully. I don't even know where to begin explaining this. But the universe wasn't giving her time to process. The next morning, a knock at her door. Isabella peered through the peephole and froze. Dante Romano stood in her hallway, looking nothing like the man from that night. This version wore a tailored charcoal suit that screamed money and power. His jaw was tight, his eyes shadowed with something that looked like fear, poorly disguised as control. I know you're there, Izzy, he said quietly. Please. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Every instinct screamed not to open that door, but she needed answers more than she needed safety. She opened it with the chain still attached. You have 3 minutes. Talk. I'm sorry. The words came out rough, like they hurt. For leaving, for disappearing, for not being there when you needed me. But I need you to understand. I didn't have a choice. Everyone has choices. Not in my world. He ran a hand through his hair, and she saw the tremor in it. The morning I left your hotel room, I got a call. Rival family making moves against mine. 3 of my men dead. If I'd stayed, if they'd traced me to you. He looked at her with anguish that seemed genuine. I made you invisible, changed your digital footprint, scrubbed our connection. It was the only way to keep you safe. Safe? Isabella's laugh was bitter. You put a tracking anklet on our daughter. It's not tracking, it's protection. He pulled out his phone, showing her a secure app. That anklet has a panic button. Press it, and my security team is at your location in under 3 minutes. It's bulletproof grade metal. If anyone tries to use her to get to me, she's protected. The practicality of it stunned her. You're insane. I'm a father trying to protect his child. His voice cracked. Our child, Izzy. I've been watching from a distance since I found out you were pregnant. Making sure you had the best doctors, that your rent was mysteriously paid up, that... Wait. Isabella's mind spun. My rent? The anonymous benefactor my landlord mentioned? I couldn't let you struggle, not while carrying my baby. You had no right. But even as she said it, she remembered the relief of not worrying about bills, the strange ease of the last few months. You can't just play puppet master with my life. I know. He looked gutted. But I didn't know what else to do. I'm not good at this, at normal, at relationships, at any of it. I'm good at protection and power and control. So that's what I gave you. The baby started fussing. Instinctively, Isabella moved to soothe her, and Dante's expression transformed into something so naked and vulnerable it hurt to witness. Can I? His voice was barely a whisper. Can I hold her? Please, Izzy, I've been waiting months for this. Every maternal instinct said no. But she saw something in his eyes. The same terror she'd felt in that delivery room. He was scared. This dangerous man who commanded empires was terrified of his own daughter. You support her head, Isabella instructed, carefully transferring the tiny bundle. Dante took his daughter like she was made of glass, his large hands impossibly gentle. He stared at her with absolute wonder, tears tracking down his face without shame. She's perfect, he breathed. You made something perfect, Izzy. We made something perfect, Isabella corrected, and felt the truth of it settle into her bones. They sat in her living room, this bizarre new family, while Dante explained his world. The Romano family wasn't drug dealers or hitmen. They controlled shipping routes, security contracts, and political influence across 3 continents. Legal enough to avoid prosecution, powerful enough that governments negotiated rather than investigated. I can't walk away, he said, but I can create distance. Build something separate for you and our daughter, a life insulated from the darkness. I don't want insulation. Isabella surprised herself with the firmness. I want honesty. I want you to stop making decisions for me and start making them with me. And I want to know, is this about possession or connection? Because I won't be owned, Dante. Not by you or anyone. He looked at her like she'd spoken in tongues. You're demanding terms from me? I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference. A slow smile spread across his face, the first genuine one she'd seen. You're remarkable. You know that? I'm a single mother running on 2 hours of sleep who just negotiated with a mafia boss in her pajamas. I don't feel remarkable. I feel insane. The best people usually are. He looked down at their daughter, still sleeping peacefully in his arms. I want to be in her life. In your life, if you'll let me. Not as some shadow protector, but as something real. Real is complicated. I know complicated. I excel at complicated. Isabella studied him, this impossible man who'd crashed into her life through a misdirected text and somehow become the father of her child. He wasn't safe. He wasn't simple. But neither was she. Not anymore. We start slow, she said. You visit. You help with her. You prove you can be present, not just protective. And Dante? You use your words. No more mysterious security measures or anonymous payments. If you want to help, you ask. If you're scared, you tell me. We do this honestly or not at all. Deal. He shifted the baby carefully, reaching out with his free hand. I'm scared, he said, taking her requirement literally. I'm terrified I'll damage her just by being her father, that my world will taint something this pure. Isabella took his hand. Then we make a new world, one where she gets to choose her own story instead of inheriting ours. You make it sound possible. Maybe it is. Maybe we're both done living in the prisons other people built. He leaned forward, pressing his forehead to hers with their daughter between them. I don't deserve this. Either of you. Probably not. But here we are anyway. The first months were messy and awkward and surprisingly wonderful. Dante showed up for 3 a.m. feedings, learned to change diapers with the same precision he applied to business negotiations, and sang Italian lullabies that made their daughter, they named her Sophia, coo with contentment. He was still dangerous, still powerful, but he was also gentle with Sophia, patient with Isabella's learning curve, and committed to building something neither of them had ever seen before, a family not based on obligation, but choice. "I got you something," Dante said one evening, 6 months after Sophia's birth. He handed Isabella a small box. Inside was an anklet matching Sophia's, but with a different engraving, Cen Romano. "It's a choice," he explained. "You can wear it or not. Keep your name or take mine. Build a life with me or keep me at arm's length. But I wanted you to know, you're not just Sophia's mother to me. You're the woman who accidentally texted me and changed everything. The only person who's ever made me want to be better." Isabella held the delicate silver chain, feeling its weight. "You're not proposing with a tracking anklet, are you?" "God, no. When I propose, it'll be with a properly excessive ring and a speech I'll probably mess up." He smiled. "This is just a promise. That I see you. That I choose you. Every day for as long as you'll have me." She put on the anklet, not because she needed his protection, but because she wanted his partnership. "This is the weirdest love story ever," she said. "It started with a wrong number. Did you expect conventional?" Isabella laughed, looking at Sophia sleeping in her crib and Dante sitting beside her, and thought about that desperate night when she'd poured her heart out to a stranger. She'd been looking for escape. Instead, she'd found something far more terrifying and beautiful. She'd found home. "No regrets?" Dante asked quietly. Isabella thought about the mistakes, the fear, the impossible circumstances that brought them here. Then she looked at her daughter, at this man who'd learned to be gentle for them, at the life they were building, one honest conversation at a time. Not a single one. And that's the thing about wrong numbers. Sometimes they connect you to exactly the right person. Have you ever had something go wrong that turned out to be the best thing that could have happened? Share your story below. I love hearing about life's beautiful accidents. Isabella Cen had texted the wrong number in her darkest moment. She'd found love in the most unlikely place, had a baby with a man she barely knew, and built a family that defied every rule she'd ever followed. And somehow, it was exactly the life she was always meant to live. Did this story give you all the feels? Smash that like button if you're Team Isabella and Dante. And hey, if you love these emotional roller coasters, hit subscribe because the next story is even more intense. Think forbidden love, shocking secrets, and a twist you'll never see coming. See you soon.